Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kapijana Vallabha Girivaradari Kapijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jam Vishnupada Mahamsa Padvajagachaya Ashtatara Shatashi Shamadhasvangay Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, entitled Prescribed Duties for Mankind, Chapter 15, Narada and Aṅgirā instruct King Citraketu, Text 17. Shri Aṅgirā Uvacha Aham Te Putra Kamasya Putrado Smi Aṅgirā Nripa Esha Brahma Suttaha Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Shri Aṅgirā Uvacha Aham te putra kamasya putra dos smyangirā nirpa Esha Brahmasutta Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Shri Aṅgirā Uvacha Aham te putra kamasya putra dosmyangirā nripa Isha Brahmasutta Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Shri Aṅgirā Uvacha Aham te putra kamasya putra dosmyangirā nripa Isha Brahmasutta Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi
Shri Aṅgirā Ṛṣi Aham te putra kamasya putra dosmyangirā nripa Isha Brahmasutta Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Shri Aṅgirā Ṛṣi Aham te putra kamasya putra dosmyangirā nripa Isha Brahmasutta Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Shri Aṅgirā Ṛṣi Aham te putra kamasya putra dosmyangirā nripa Isha Brahmasutta Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Shri Aṅgirā Ṛṣi Aham te putra kamasya putra dosmyangirā nripa Isha Brahmasutta Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi
Shri Aṅgirā Uvacha. The great sage Aṅgirā said, Aham, I, te, of you, putra kamasya, designed to have a son. Putradaha, the giver of the son. Asmi, am. Aṅgirā Ṛṣi. Nripa, O king. Eshaha, this Brahmasutta, the son of the Lord Brahma. Sakshat, directly. Narada, Narada Muni. Bhagavan, the most powerful. Rishi, sage. Translation commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Aṅgirā said, My dear king, when you desired to have a son, I approached you. Indeed, I am the same Aṅgirā Ṛṣi who gave you this son. As for this Rishi, he is the great sage Narada, the direct son of Lord Brahma. Text 18 and 19. Itam tvam putra shokena magnam tamasi dustare atad arham anusmritya mahapurusha gocharam anugrahaya bhavata praptav yavam iha prabho brahmano bhagavad bhakto nava saditum arhasi. My dear king, you are an advanced devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To be absorbed in lamentation for the loss of something material is unsuitable for a person like you. Therefore, we have both come to relieve you from this false lamentation, which is due to your being merged in the darkness of ignorance. For those who are advanced in spiritual knowledge, to be affected by material loss and gain is not at all desirable. Purport. Several words in this verse are very important. The word Mahapurusha refers to advanced devotees and also to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maha means the Supreme, and Purusha means person. One who always engages in the service of the Supreme Lord is called Mahapurushika. Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit are sometimes addressed as Mahapurushika. A devotee should always aspire to engage in the service of advanced devotees, as Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung. Tandera charana sevi bhakti sanevas janame janame hoy e abhilash. A devotee should always aspire to live in the association of advanced devotees and engage in the service of the Lord through the Parampara system. One should serve the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the instructions of the great Goswamis of Vrindavan. This is called Tandera Charana Sevi. While serving the lotus feet of the Goswamis, one should live in the association of devotees. Bhakti Sanivas. This is the business of a devotee. A devotee should not aspire for material profit or lament for material loss. When Aṅgirā Ṛṣi and Nārada saw that Mahārāja Citraketu, an advanced devotee, had fallen in the darkness of ignorance and was lamenting for the material body of his son, by their causeless mercy they came to advise him so that he could be saved from this ignorance. Another significant word is Brahmanya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is sometimes addressed by the prayer Namo Brahmanya Devaya, which offers obeisances unto the Lord because he is served by the devotees. Therefore this verse states, Brahmanyo Bhagavad Bhakto Navasad Ditum Arasi. This is the symptom of an advanced devotee. Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. For a devotee, an advanced devotee, self-realized soul, there is no cause for material jubilation or lamentation. He is always transcendental to conditional life. Om Ganita Padandasya Karanjana Shuvakaya Chakshula Malitamena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Makam Kritavachalam Pangam Langai Tekidim Yak Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurandini Taranam Vanja Kapadri Bishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavani Bhyo Vaishnavi Bhyo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, translations again. Aṅgirā said, My dear king, when you desired to have a son, I approached you. Indeed, I am the same Aṅgirā Ṛṣi who gave you this son. As for this Rishi, he is the great sage Nārada, the direct son of Lord Brahma. My dear king, you are an advanced devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To be absorbed in lamentation for the loss of something material is unsuitable for a person like you. Therefore, we have both come to relieve you from this false lamentation, which is due to your being merged in the darkness of ignorance. For those who advance in spiritual knowledge, to be affected by material loss and gain is not at all desirable. So this is what devotees do. They give persons the means to be free from their ignorance, from their illusion, from their lamentation, which is all, as this particular verse, the second verse we read, to relieve you from this false lamentation. In other words, it's all under false, how does he say, hallucination. Srila Prabhupada, he quotes one time that a teacher, which, of course, if a teacher did this nowadays, or anyways, I'm not sure exactly what teacher he's talking about, but he said that one time a teacher was given a class, and the teacher told the student that if you don't stop your nonsense, I'm going to cut your head off, and I'm going to hang it on the wall so you could see it. And then the student stopped. But Prabhupada makes the point that, well, if the head's cut off, how is he going to see it on the wall? Right? How is he going to see it on the wall if it's cut off? So, and he quotes this particular instance in relation to a verse in the third canto of the Bhagavatam, which makes the point about the suffering or the lamentation or the ignorance of the living entity. that it is just as if, like in a dream, one gets their head cut off. It's a hallucination, that really, because the soul's pure, cannot be contaminated by these things. So it's but the devotees, they relieve people from this false lamentation, these false mental or hallucinations. And as Srila Prabhupada, he quotes this verse quite often, that devotees should always aspire to engage in the service of advanced devotees, as Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung. Thandera Chanana Seva Bhakti Sanavas. So this particular, you know where this is from? Yeah. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna song. Many interesting points in that song by Narottam Das Thakur. One of the verses, it says, "By serving the 6 Goswamis, all obstructions are removed, and all spiritual desires are fulfilled." Brigapati Prabhu, noting this particular point, which Prabhupada makes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, he always prays of the 6 Goswamis before he distributes books to remove all obstacles and fulfill all spiritual desires. He said it's worked many times for him. But Prabhupada quotes this particular point, or this particular verse of the song, quite a lot in his books. I remember I was just giving a class here recently, and Prabhupada quoted it. And then I said the same thing, that Prabhupada quotes it a lot in his books. So here it is again. So we should always want to live in the association of advanced devotees and engage in the service of Krishna through the Parampara system, to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the instructions of the great Goswamis of Vrindavan. So there's so many instructions. Nectar of Instruction, right? The book Upadeshamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar Devotion. And there's so many other books. And Srila Prabhupada wanted us to study those books. Brihad Bhagavatamrita, for those who have not read it, they should read it. Of course, reading Prabhupada's books first, but they should read that book. And so many books are there for us to become, situated in Krishna consciousness. And says for those who are eager to, say, become advanced or to understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, then they should read the Goswami literature, these particular books. So one thing is that, again, it's the business of the devotees to relieve people of their suffering by giving them the message of Krishna consciousness, serving the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the instructions of the Goswamis. So therefore, we have to understand what are those instructions. We have to read, we have to hear, and we have to get a clear understanding. Because this is actually one of the anartas. One of the anartas, or the useless things within the heart, is that tattva Brahma, are not having a clear conception of the truth, and therefore preaching wrong things in the name of Krishna consciousness or in the name of whatever it is. Most people do. I guess if persons are within ISKCON, we're talking about ISKCON, they say in the name of Krishna consciousness, in the name of Srila Prabhupada, but we have to be very careful. Okay, is it really tattva, or is it tattva Brahma, like illusory tattva, illusory truth? So as followers of Prabhupada, we have to give people his message in a pure way. Or you could say, or else, I mean, what are we doing? Or you could say it could be seen as cheating. And that is what religions, that's what Srila Prabhupada criticized, religions that cheat, or people that cheat, that they actually can give their followers more, but they don't. Like Srila Prabhupada would metaphysically grab some of the Christian priests by the collar and shake them, and he wouldn't actually grab them, but as I said, metaphysically, but with his speech, he would practically grab them by the collar and say, "Why aren't you teaching your followers to be sinless? Why are you just saying believe in Jesus Christ and you'll be saved and you could still be a rascal? Why aren't you teaching them to be sinless?" So now members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness can also be criticized for this. Why aren't we teaching people, say members of the International Society of Krishna, in a certain way? Or why aren't we teaching the public when they come in a certain way? Or in other words, why are we preaching in a particular, or trying to teach in a particular way that may be not giving them the full truth? And again, this could be seen as cheating, like Srila Prabhupada was with Srup Damodar Goswami, and Srup Damodar Goswami, some professor came in, and he was a professor of religion, and then he said, Prabhupada said, "What is Hinduism?" And then the professor said, "I don't know." And then Prabhupada said, "Well, why are you teaching?" And he was all quiet, and then Prabhupada asked Srup Damodar Goswami, "Srup Damodar Goswami, what do you call a person who teaches something, but they don't know what they're teaching? What do you call that person?" And then Srup Damodar Goswami said, "He's a cheater, Prabhupada." Professor, poor professor, got the sauce there, as devotees like to call it. So it's like, okay, well, you don't know what you're teaching, or a person doesn't know what they're teaching. Okay, that's a form of cheating. But now you could say a lot of people may know, right, the basic principles of Krishna consciousness, and they may know Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the essence, right, of these things, and they've read, and they're well read. So what about a person who knows, but they don't tell everything, or the truth, or they don't educate people in a particular way? In other words, they just educate them in values, or how to live a good life. Now, those people can also be criticized, actually, as cheaters. Someone may say, "You're not giving them the full thing. You're not giving what Mahaprabhu wanted to give them," right? What's that? Love of God. That's the means to attain love of God, the means to attain pure devotional service to Krishna. You're not giving them that means. So what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Someone may say that. And it's a valid point, because we're not just. It's not that we're trying to help people just come to the mode of goodness. We help them live a clean life and a pure life, and I mean, Prabhupada classified that as taking off the silver chains and putting gold ones on. That's how he classified it. I mean, okay, we teach them how to be vegetarian, which, I mean, Srila Prabhupada said monkeys are also. We teach them how to be clean. We teach them how to, whatever, all these sub-religious principles, or you could say principles of values or morality or whatever. But if they're still not being taught how to come to the platform of pure devotional service, I mean, it's questionable. What type of service are we doing for people? If they're just taught to be, you could say, asuras, or demons in the mode of goodness, then what type of service are we doing? Demons means not somebody with horns and a tail, right? With that's like a common horns and a tail. But it means someone who's not really into the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and just wanting to, turning their back on Krishna, and that could be in different modes. Now you may say it's better than the mode of ignorance. Better be a sur in the mode of goodness than a sur in the mode of ignorance or mode of passion. But that's not really our mission. Our mission is to bring people to the platform, to educate them, to train them, to bring them, to help them, to encourage them to be a pure devotee of Krishna. And it doesn't matter how many people are able to come to that particular platform. We say, hey, let's teach them these other principles and we'll get more followers, right? We'll get millions of followers like that. But is that really like, all right, okay, we're getting millions of followers, but is it the right thing to do? Is it pleasing to Srila Prabhupada? Are we ever going to try to bring them to higher platforms? But even if we don't get any followers, I mean, Lord Chaitanya says, right? Nadanam na janam na sundarim kavatam va jagadisha kamaya mama janmane janmarishware bhavatad bhakti rahoy takitoe, that I do not want any women, I do not want any wealth, I don't want any followers, I just want your pure devotional service birth after birth. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had followers, and devotees have whatever, because sometimes it's translated as spouse or something, but they may have these things, but Lord Chaitanya is saying, I don't want any of these things to enjoy them as my own. So it's not that follower necessarily, if somebody has followers, they're evil or something, but it means that they don't want these things for their own gratification. So even if we don't get anyone joining the Hare Krishna movement or the San Diego Hare Krishna temple, at least we could, or even if we just get one, as Srila Prabhupada said in the Bhagavad Gita, one person who could take up pure devotional service. And Prabhupada said that would be the success of starting the whole movement, he said. So we're not interested to get a bunch of people who aren't really serious, or who aren't at least serious to take up the process of coming to the platform of pure devotional service, and we just teach them a bunch of sub-religious principles, teach them how to be better, prisoners with better behavior, tamasic and rajasic modes, they have more bad behavior, but the ones in the gold shackles have better behavior, but we're not really interested in that. There's a quote by, I'm not sure who it is, so forgive me, because they say whenever you quote, you should give the name. Sorry about that. Of course, it could be looked up, but probably some philosopher or something. But it says, education without values, as useful as it may be, seems rather to make man a more clever devil. C.S. Lewis, okay. Thank you. All right, there you go. So education without values, as useful as it may be, seems rather to make man more of a more clever devil. So I mean, just education, right? There's no values, just like the modern system of education and university and all these places. Okay, it's just like facts and figures, and there's no real sense of values. Then the teaching value system there. Like Prabhupada said, our brahmacharis, we teach them how to be clean and this and that, so many good qualities. And he says in the university, they don't teach it like this. They're just teaching facts and figures. And so he's saying, C.S. Lewis is saying that this type of education without values just makes one more of a clever devil. Now, we may say, well, hey, we're teaching them values, right? They're coming to the Hare Krishna movement, or they're following me or whatever, and we're teaching them values. So they're not, clever devils, right? Because we're not just teaching them education, we're teaching them values. Okay, that's better. But again, we don't. It's not that we want a whole movement of mode of goodness devils. You say clever devil is one with just education and no values, and a mode of goodness devil is one who has values, right? But it's not really interested in Krishna. So we don't want that. So we want to bring people, which is a challenge, because we also have to follow. We have to follow. Means we have to strive to engage in pure devotional service to Krishna and to the devotees. And we have to educate people in that way. This is called Tandir Channa Sevi. While serving the lotus feet of the Goswamis, one should live in the association of the devotees. So we want to serve the lotus feet of the 6 Goswamis by knowing their instructions, by teaching their instructions, despite how many followers it brings or whatever the outcome it is. We follow. And we want to do that in the association of devotees. And this is the business of a devotee. As Prabhupada says, a devotee should not aspire for material profit or lament for material loss. And then Prabhupada brings up the point that Aṅgirā and Nārada Muni, they came to free this person from ignorance, who was lamenting over the material body of his son. Another significant word is Brahmanya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is sometimes addressed by the prayer Namo Brahmanya Devaya, which offers obeisance unto the Lord because he is served by the devotees. Therefore this verse states, Brahmanya Bhagavad Bhakto Navasaditam Arasi. This is a symptom of advanced devotee, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. For a devotee and advanced devotee, self-realized soul, there is no cause for material jubilation or lamentation. He is always transcendental to conditional in the life. So that should be the particular aim that we want to become advanced devotees. And we want to self-realize, and we want to be transcendental conditional life, and we want to bring people to that stage. And that should be the aim of our particular outreach, to bring people to that stage, not to keep them golden shackled prisoners. It's very important because a movement, as Gargamuni Prabhu, he has a quote in the beginning of his book. He has a very nice mood with Srila Prabhupada. He's serving Prabhupada, but in the beginning of his book, there's a nice sketch of Prabhupada in black and white, his face. It says, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And then he said, it says it is the person who makes the movement. And then below it said, it's not that we had love for Krishna, we didn't know anything about Krishna, but we had love for Srila Prabhupada, we were mad for Srila Prabhupada. So that's the beginning of his book. And then he goes into how, Pakistan, and he went to Pakistan, which was very dangerous actually, and he helps Spiritual Sky Incense, start that, and help buy the Watsuka temple, the present temple, and anyway, so many things, but services he did. But in relation to this, it's the person that makes the movement. So, just as somebody starts a movement such as Srila Prabhupada, he started ISKCON. So, it can be, you could say, watered down. It can be hijacked. It can be teaching the wrong things. So it is the responsibility of those, of the members, to make sure that it is not hijacked, to make sure that it is not propagating the wrong things, to ensure that there's not a mission drift. Because that's what movements do, mission drift. And it's very easy. It's like very easy. I mean, unbelievably easy to do that. Because through mission drift and introducing all types of different things that have nothing to do with Krishna consciousness really, or that aren't really our mission, by doing those things, it naturally attracts more people. And we think, oh great, we're doing wonderful. We're getting a lot of people. But that's not the test at all, how many people are joining, really. I mean, the Mayavadi places are full, at least some of them. Does that mean that we don't accept that at all? You know, people like garbage, so there's a lot of crows going there, right? But the test is that we're following the instructions of the Charya, the instruction of the 6 Goswamis, and we're doing the right thing. That's the test. Okay, so does anybody have any question? There's a mic here. Bhakti Mike. Bhakti Mike always attends class. Yes.
Yeah, a comment and a question. As devotees, we spend a lot of time analyzing demons. We've spent weeks talking about Vitrasura.
Yes.
We celebrate festivals.
Killing
demons. We have Bhagavad Gita classes analyzing the divine and demoniac natures.
Yes.
But when the analysis shifts to the current day, the present time, and what the demons are doing, oftentimes the discussion is brief, it's sidestepped, or it's brought into more abstract terms. And so Prabhupada was very specific, very direct. You gave the example of Swarup Damodar Goswami, Prabhupada, and the professor. Prabhupada called out the moon landing. He called out feminism. He called out these organizations, these distinguished organizations, as full of nothing more than rascals.
Yes.
If we're not able to speak in the same way, with the same force, directness, clarity, then can we fulfill our role as the true leaders of society? More importantly, what is the use of our spiritual strength, practically speaking? Do we not have every incentive to do so, considering that our enemies conspire and plan against us with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker? That's the comment. My question is, Prabhupada, in a letter in 1970 to Hamsadutta, he mentioned that the great sinister movement had infiltrated ISKCON. That was only 4 years after starting ISKCON, that this great poison tree was now affecting the whole society. So my question is, can you describe this great sinister society? Who are they? What is going on? By your spiritual strength, flying your own plane, as Prabhupada said, can you please enlighten us?
All right, thank you. What was that letter? Rajendra Nana Prabhu, he quote that letter.
WHO?
Huh? WHO. Oh, well, the WHO, that particular movement, they wanted Srila Prabhupada to come and participate in that particular movement, and or just be there. And then Srila Prabhupada, he declined. And it was interesting because Prabhupada didn't decline many opportunities to speak or to meet with people, but he declined this particular opportunity. And he said he didn't want to meet with them because then people would take pictures. And he said that this movement would use those pictures in a particular way, which Prabhupada didn't agree with certain principles that they stood for in that particular, such as abortion. So, in other words, they would, like if you get somebody like, stand by, like you wrote a book about something, right? And then, you get that picture to stand by you, then you got the person there and your book there, and oh, this person supports my book. That's what the picture means, pretty much, right? So, yeah, devotees should be careful about that also. Meeting with certain people or yeah. I mean, Lord Chaitanya is very strict in relation to that. But anyways, I mean, as a human, as a imperfect human, I am my knowledge is limited, obviously. So what exactly is going on in ISKCON, or what exactly is going on here or there, so many places? I mean, I'm limited. I only know, so much. So yeah, I practically can't get into many details, and but the basic thing is that we need to do the right thing ourselves. It means we need to strive to engage in pure devotional service and do the right thing. It means book distribution and Harinam, Sankirtan, and so many different ways of outreach. We need to be a good example. And don't let the poison enter our particular minds, and don't let the poison, you could say, enter our particular environment, whatever we have some influence over. Yeah, so that's the main thing. And whatever else is going on, I mean, the history of the world, so many things go on. People criticize religious movements for corruption, right? But so many movements, I mean, every movement actually has corruption. You can't get one movement that doesn't have movement. A movement means there's going to be some corruption going on, because movements consist of human beings, and human beings have a tendency towards that darkness. So it's not just within religious institutions, it's also within other places. What's that place? What's that one? I mentioned this some time ago, but what's that one group? No, not Salvation Army. They go to different countries and help people. Peace Corps. A lot of problems. I mean, I don't want to give the details because it's no necesito, but a lot of problems they have. They're going to countries supposed to help people, but there's a lot of exploitation. They go there and actually abuse people. Many cases, documented, real cases. So it's a very difficult time, actually. That's Kali Yuga, right? I mean, not to smile about it, but it's a very difficult time. So therefore, again, we have to do what we can, to fight. All right. Yes, Jyotir Prabhu.
This year was 1974, you say, Madhavapuri? The letter?
I was referring to the 1970 letter to Hamsa-Buddha.
1970.
Well, and what was the exact phrase you used? It was pretty devastating.
You mentioned the poison tree and the great sinister movements.
Yeah, I'm just guessing because I'm not sure of the specific thing, but I know that around that time there was a threat that Prabhupada received from some of his godbrothers, who were trying to say that Prabhupada was just a member of the Gaudiya Math, And that even saying that, if you really want to be advanced, then you need to do the Siddha Pranali thing, and he had some devotees get that. And one of his godbrothers reinitiated one devotee who was a little bit confused, and so that he felt that was a threat, because the movement was taking off. 70 probably was in LA, and the movement was growing like anything, and it was a success. And there was an attempt to try to get on, to take some of his leaders away, or to convince them that now that you've made the start, now you should really come under our leadership or whatever, or especially the idea of that Prabhupada was not as advanced, there was all kinds of stuff like that going on. So I can look up that letter. What was the specific phrase? What was it saying? Because I'll look it up.
I said the poison tree is affecting the whole society.
Yeah.
The great sinister movement has infiltrated.
I can look that up in the database and probably find something like that, and we'll see the context. But I know that was one big thing that Prabhupada was very disturbed about, that there was an attempt to infiltrate, and sow doubt among some of his leaders about Prabhupada's own position. And so that sounds like that could be that.
Thank you.
The context of the letter, Prabhupada specifically talking about what happened in New Vrindavan with some of his sannyasis, Brahmananda and Vishnujan, and they were talking about how Prabhupada's Krishna and how he left, and so I think he was talking about, he said, regarding the poisonous effect in our society, it is a fact, and I know where this poison tree has sprung up, and how it affected practically the whole society in a very dangerous form, but it does not matter. I think in the same Para system that the poison administered to our society will not act if some of our students are as good as Prahlad Maharaj. And then
man. That's a high.
And then he said, I have tried to give you all Krishna consciousness. Now it is your duty to develop it. If you remain strong on the spiritual platform, then your progress will not be checked or blocked. And then he said, I do not know what was resolved in New Vrindavan, although Sriman Rupanuga Prabhu has informed others that he has sent a tape in this connection. I am still in darkness about the proceedings in New Vrindavan, but I have heard that Brahmananda is preaching about me, that I am Krishna, that I am Super Soul, that I have withdrawn my mercy from the disciples, that I have left the society, and so on.
Withdrawn my mercy. Oh.
Yeah, and so he said, and then he said, I do not know how far they are correct, but I have written him a letter that he may not do something which may harm the interest of the society. You are also one of the members of the GBC, so you can think over very deeply how to save the situation. It is a fact, however, that the great sinister movement is within our society. I have not heard anything from Krishna Das or Shyama Sundar, so all of you may try to save the society from this dangerous position.
Yeah, Prabhupada considered sinister this idea that evil, that this idea that the living entity is God. And Prabhupada, it's interesting because you say, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, right? He came to dismantle that. It's amazing, actually. And then, some of his disciples, they say, oh, Prabhupada's God. Out of all things that they could have said, that was like the worst. Prabhupada was really against that. So Prabhupada considered this sinister.
I think Sureshwar wrote a whole account of that, because he was there in New Vrindavan, a new devotee, and they had all come down for Janmashtami, I think, Vasa Puja. And the first four sannyasis in the movement, Brahmananda and Vishnujan, but he was kind of just tagging along. He wasn't really, but Brahmananda and I think Subal was there, there's another one. And they went to New Vrindavan and they were preaching to all the devotees there. That Prabhupada is God and we've lost the mercy, we've lost. And what I remember is that they were writing the Prabhupada, because he had left LA by that time. They were trying, Brahmananda had decided they were blocking his Prabhupada's letters and reading his, and not letting him get all the letters from the different devotees. So Prabhupada wanted to stay in LA and write and everything, but he felt he had to leave. So he called up Bhagavan and a couple others and said, get me out of here. And then when he left, and he went to, I think, Hong Kong, and then he went to India. That was the first India trip. And then he said, okay, send me a bunch of devotees. Giriraj is one of them, and then they started going around. And so, but the main thing was that Prabhupada asked Tamal, he was there with Prabhupada, he said, what should we do with it? I think we should expel them, Prabhupada. And he did. So they were out of the movement for a while, Brahmananda and the others. But then they got into there's this whole, anyways, a lot that happened from that. They came back eventually. But it was like a bomb fell in New Vrindavan. Some devotees left New Vrindavan very confused, and they never came back from the movement. So that clarifies it, what Prabhupada was talking about there.
Yeah, there's... Well, is there anything online?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
May I?
Yes.
Yes, because Balaram Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams, thank you very much, you're most kind.
No, sorry, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. In the translation, I see that they're saying to the king that to be absorbed in lamentation for the loss of something material is unsuitable for a person like you. End quote. So based on this quote, my question is, what about devotees experiencing feelings of separation? Is it that it is suitable for a transcendentalist to suffer in any way?
Yeah, well, the devotees, they feel separation from Krishna or from their spiritual master, or yeah. So that's spiritual, that's transcendental, that's above all this material lamentation and hankering. So yeah, devotees, they have spiritual hankering, they have spiritual lamentation, spiritual desires. So yeah, that's all fine and good. But Aṅgirā and Nārada Muni saying that, but they're saying that, but to have material lamentation and jubilation and all these different things, to be on the material platform, that's not, or to fall to the material platform, that's not proper for a person like Mahārāja Citraketu. So yeah, but yeah, it's a wonderful thing to have spiritual hankering, spiritual lamentation. Actually, we have to give up our material lamentations and our material hankering, and we could only do that really actually by adopting spiritual hankering, spiritual lamentation. That's how we give it up, or else we can't give it up, really. So, yeah.
And Prabhu, if I may, lamenting because of what? Are we allowed to lamenting because of what?
Well, we lament, for example, that we could have spiritual lamentation that I wish I was more, I wish I was Krishna conscious, or I wish, or we could lament, like, for example, like they have that whole song of Narottam Das Thakur, he's lamenting that all these associates, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they've left, and, right, he'll smash his head against a rock, enter into the fire, where of all the associates of Lord Chaitanya gone. So he's lamenting not having their association, but it's a spiritual lamentation. So yeah, there's different, yes.
Thinking, in the Nectar Devotion, there's something under submission. We've changed the title because it's misguided. Submitting an appeal.
That's what you changed it to?
Yeah,
okay.
Because there's a confusion there. But Dainya Bodhika means expressing one's wretched condition. And that you'll find songs like that and verses also describing, even Lord Chaitanya in the Shikshastika, the second one is said to be a symptom of that. You're given your name, it's full of all your energies, there's no hard and fast rules, but I have no attachment for it.
Yeah.
That's the lamentation.
Yeah.
Why haven't I got some attachment? When can I, like that?
Yeah.
So that's a common theme for songs, like you say, and statements. So, but it's not for something material. It's for one's wretched position, or supposed wretched position, because the greatest devotees enter into this. You know, you read Lord Chaitanya, you read the Anjalila. You know, it's so much lamentation. Lord Chaitanya is you know, he's so lamenting. He's rolling on the ground. His limbs get extended. You know, it's incredible display of that.
Yeah.
But it's the highest ecstasy. Who can understand?
Yes, but just one last thing. Characteristically, when we go for material lamentation, we tend to become stagnant and stop with what we are doing. But for example, you, Balaram Prabhu, you are a brahmachari. So is it that the spiritual lamentation is there in such a way that it wouldn't happen for you to stop chanting your daily 16 rounds in the morning? Oh, I'm lamenting, I'm depressed, I can't chant my rounds. I think that it is the exact opposite. You may be lamenting because of spiritual circumstances, but this lamentation, because it is of spiritual nature, will increase your will for chanting more and better rounds, no?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
I think that is the ultimate difference between material lamentation and spiritual lamentation, no?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Very
Thank
good.
you very
Thank
much.
you.
You're most kind.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.